Hi, this is Shadi. I really hope you enjoyed my last video, which is a clip from my talk with Norikazu Kawaishi sensei. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. He discusses the old self-defense techniques, how it was done during his Father's Day, of course, being a student of Jigoro Kano. That man possesses a lot of insight, and I was very privileged to interview him. So if you haven't seen it, please go check it out. So today I'm going to talk about those little nuances that separated Kodokan Judo and Japanese Jujutsu. Now, Japanese Jujutsu is not a monolith, meaning it wasn't this one system that just everyone did. You have to understand there was a lot of schools, a lot of families, and even if they shared the same techniques, maybe they entered the techniques differently. Maybe they prioritized this set of techniques over the other. So that was mainly how it was different. So if you want to learn more about Jiu-jitsu, sumo, and how this all came to be, don't forget to check out my book, The Origins and History of Judo, where it is all detailed. Link below, of course. So now, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is very vast, it's very rich. Every school practice things differently. So, for example, here you see they were in their sarumata or their monkey pants and they grappled what we essentially call nogi on the ground and standing up as well. So you have other schools that were more focused on self-defense and police work, so arresting techniques and things that go back to Kempo. And of course, you had some that sparred more. For example, we know the story of Yoshin Ryu, Totsuka, Yoshin Ryu to be exact, how they competed for the Metropolitan Police position against Kodokan. So there was a lot of sparring. Of course, you have the old dojo yaburi tradition where you would storm in the dojo and then try to beat everyone and take the students as well and show your superiority. Of course, with time, a lot of these hardcore traditions kind of phased out. Here you can see some randori techniques that we do, like the hip tosses, osotogari, and the armbar, some ground techniques as well. But here is what it differed, at least from if we were to look at it from our generation's standpoint. In France, if you want to go to from brown belt to black belt and from first degree to second degree black belt, one of your exams is called Jiu-jitsu. So it is a self-defense exam. Now, it's not too serious, unfortunately. Uh, for example, at brown belt, you get maybe one strike and then one grab, and then you defend. Nidan, you have maybe two or three techniques more or situations, and it's like a series of techniques, and then they choose one or two. So you're not going to do a lot of techniques, unfortunately, but you prepare for all of them. And nobody takes it seriously, unfortunately, because of the sportification of judo. And it's done really the last week or two before the exam. So, and nobody fails, essentially. So, the reason why we call it jujitsu, it's because when Kawaishi and all these early patrons of judo came to Europe and the West, uh, Jiu-Jitsu or the old Jiu-Jitsu was seen more for self-defense, while Judo has incorporated competitions. Keep in mind, back then you already had the All Japan, you already had the Shiai that was being done amongst themselves in Kodokan. So there was quite a bit of sparring, quite a bit to the point where it was a lot more than Jiu-Jitsu. Again, every school of Jiu-Jitsu is different because of their priorities. So let me tell you a little story. This kind of proves the point. So here you see, for example, this self-defense demonstration. He grips, he does this, or he attacks with the knife, or he grabs the jacket, and then you finish off with some form of technique. And before, they just showed you techniques in the gi, the stuff that they do in sparring in this demonstration. But when Jujutsuka Gunji Koizumi wanted to go to the West and teach and become a judoka, he couldn't teach from his jujutsu credentials. He had to earn a grade, and of course, he got a nidan. So, of course, we all know the story of the Budokai in the UK, and there is also, his tragic death. It's it's someone I really admire a lot, and but here's the thing: he when Mikinosuke Kawaishi wanted to go to the West and go out and teach after his time in the military, he had to have the fourth degree black belt. It's all detailed in the full interview with me and Kawaishi sensei. You can check it out. And so he went on to work with Koizumi sensei, and Koizumi sensei was more focused on self-defense. He was more of a jujutsuka than a judoka, and so he noticed, Mikinosuke Kawaishi noticed that his randori skills were not Kodokan skills, even though he was Nidan. And he kind of did not really like that. He was fourth degree and he sparred a lot and did self-defense. He has his own book on self-defense, which I'll discuss separately. And they were not really on the same term, to the point where he opened the English Japanese school of judo while Koizumi was in the Budokai. So that tells you that they were not really on good terms, and that's mainly because, the priorities of jujutsu were more different than Kodokan judo. And again, every school is different, but just so you see how rich judo is, you can prioritize self-defense towards the very end, as he explained in my last video, and still spar, still work. They come in, they would warm up. Everyone, as he explained, used to work on their own thing, a lot of their throws, a lot of their, uchikomi and their drilling. That's how it was when I was in Kodokan. The first 45 minutes, there was a lot of warming up. We walked on our hands, we carried our partner first 10-15 minutes. The rest were a lot of uchikomi, nagekomi, and you work on your own technique and your own specialty. Then the last 45 minutes were 5-minute rounds of randori. And they weren't super tough. They were very well controlled. They were very well done. And you can learn a lot. And you can also perform very well. And you can come back the next day. I never felt like I needed to recover as compared to the universities or the high schools that I visited in Japan when I trained. So you had that structure, plus at the very end there was always self-defense, as Kawaishi sensei explained to me. So you had all this. He also said he was growing up doing all sorts of locks, so all the rounds were mixed between newaza and of course tachiwaza. You can read this also from the accounts of Kimura. And then I would say with time, self-defense slowly was phasing out due to the need for time for sparring, because if you want to be the best in the world, let's say, the last 10, 15, 20 minutes of the class, you can get in, I don't know, 3 rounds or maybe 2, and then you stretch afterwards, you relax. If you're doing self-defense and you know your competition is not doing self-defense, so that's how it kind of phased it out. But you have to understand that competition class exists for a reason. I don't think they should be phased out, and I think they should be mandatory. Every even now today with the sports and everything, every club does things differently. Maybe some have 50% newaza rounds, 50% stand up. Some no newaza at all. It's almost inexistent. Even though they're like second, third degree black belts, they barely know anything on the ground. But stand up, they're just absolute monsters. and some they have a weekly kata session, so every club is different. But self-defense, just for the sake of Jigoro Kano himself and what he wanted in his writings, the last 10-15 minutes, competition class exists already. 10-15 minutes, do things that are not absolutely just wow, like understand how to protect your own space, how to lift your hands, how a lot of people, when you see they're fighting, they put their foreheads together and start to like talk smack to each other. It's really dumb and dangerous. um, how to not get backed into a wall, how to handle basic grabs, every time with every single practice, just like your uchimata when you were a colored belt. It's sloppy, you're hopping it. But then as a black belt, you feel it, it's more fluid when you look back in the videos. The same with these techniques, they're not any different. So if you say they're useless, well, appealing to futility is what you're doing, and might as well just not train at all. So I do think that there should be some self-defense, of course, very similar to what Kano wanted, a lot of randori, a lot of drilling, and at the end, some self-defense. That's what I think. Randori is randori, self-defense, self-defense, and kata is kata. And none of them are useless. So if you have anything to add, please let me know down below. Don't forget to check out my last video and my book. This was Shadi, and thank you for listening.